Dear beautiful people, today I want to talk to you about why in modern societies so many people are actually unhappy or experience themselves as unhappy. Now, something that we all learn when we grow up, we learn to put conditions on happiness. Yeah? It means we learn to develop a habit to be very specific about what we say makes us happy. Yeah? You might think that these specific things are a representation of who you are, but this is actually not the case. This is a form of program that runs in your mind. When you get raised in a society and this society has very specific ideas what it means to be happy. For example, if you watch advertisement and you see perfectly looking people in perfect suits with perfect jobs, perfect relationships, so on and so forth, it creates a connection in your brain. It creates neurons that tell you, well, this is what we identify with being happy. Yeah. Now, what this marketing does, not only this marketing, but the way we are educated and raised, we're raised to compete with each other. That means to compare each other, obviously. So, as such, we say, well, if I am successful, if I am good looking, if I have a tremendous marriage with the most beautiful person in the universe, then I choose to be happy. Otherwise, I choose to consider myself not as lovable, not worthy, and so on and so forth. So basically, when you put conditions on happiness, you set yourself up for suffering. Yeah? Because these conditions, if you will, they point to the future. So anything that you want to attain is not here right now. It's always in the future. So happiness is delayed, it's postponed. It's like when I get this, then I will be happy. When I have this house, this relationships, then I will be happy. Now, with that expectation, equally comes the potential for suffering. Well, of course you could be in a wonderful relationship. Of course you could have your dream job. And there's nothing wrong with trying to improve your life situation. But if you try to draw identity from that, and mind you, identity is the ego. And identity comes into being when we agree or disagree with someone or something. When we say, for example, I enjoy this, but I hate that. In that moment, we have separated ourselves within. We say, with this I agree, with this I disagree. So I've put on conditions for happiness, conditions for joy. A lot of people when they're sitting at an ocean, this is the moment where they feel a relief. They're watching the waves, they feel the sand between the toes, they're listening to the seagulls. And while they experience this amazing view of nature, their mind is overwhelmed and stops judging for a few seconds, and suddenly they feel liberated. This is, if you will, a glimpse at actual spiritual liberation. But it's just a glimpse, it's not a continuous state. And the reason for that is rather simple. Very few people have a bias towards the experience of sitting in an ocean. If someone would have made the experience of nearly drowning as a kid in an ocean when they were really, really young, this memory they might still carry. So the moment they're sitting in an ocean, they experience anxiety or phobia. Yeah. But mind you, it's not the situation itself. It's our opinion about that situation. So if we want to be unhappy, we just need to believe in something. Yeah, we got to believe in the perfect romantic relationship. It's definitely going to make us unhappy. It's a guarantee. Because whatever we experience, we will be in resistance against. Yeah. So when you figure that out, that it's actually not the situations that create our state of unhappiness or happiness, but it's our opinions about it. Then you come to a very profound truth that all beliefs are an illusion. They fabricate what we experience as our emotional reality. So another example, if for example someone wants to marry And in this case, let's say a woman says, I want the wagon, I want the white horses, and I want a castle, and I want all my relatives to be happy with us when we're marrying. This is a recipe for a subjective experience of disaster. Yeah. How likely is it that these circumstances occur? So when you realize, for example, that there is an event, an event A, and you have your beliefs, this is B, and there are consequences, this is your emotional response, let's call that C, then a lot of people think A, the event, results in C. But this is not true. There's a belief deep, deep within you, and it's so hardwired into your neurons that the moment you counter a situation, the judgment is so instantaneous that you might actually miss it. So with the inability to observe your belief system B, you do not realize that this produces actually the consequences. That means your emotional response. So the less conditions you put on happiness, the less resistance to put up to any moment, to any situation, the less likely you will be unhappy, but actually be joyful. So what also plays into that, for example, if we get raised and we have to struggle for appreciation, we have to struggle for attention, then there is a story in the mind that will, for example, tell someone, I am the one who struggles. I am the one who needs to fight for attention, who needs to struggle for attention, the one that is not loved, except if certain conditions are fulfilled. This is the reason why a lot of people are unhappy in relationships, because they pick someone who matches that story and they fall deeply in love. But the only thing that they're going to do is going to reinforce their biases, because that person is going to make them struggle for attention, for love, and so on and so forth. So when we actually find love, love that's just based on your being, someone likes your being, there's no conditions attached to it. A lot of people do not trust it because they have invested in their story of the one who struggles, who is not lovable. And this is identity, and this is the ego. The ego is an illusion. It's a pretender in your mind that tries to convince you that the story in the head is you. But the story is not you. The same as if you paint a landscape, the painting that you've just created of that landscape is not the landscape. So when you learn not to believe the story, you go beyond the story and you cease to put conditions on happiness. Something else will enter your life. And joy is its natural state. Contemplate about that. Be well.